Everyone, Deo Nizonkiza is a sessional lecturer in the School of Journalism, Writing and Media in the University of British Columbia. He is also working on his second PhD at Laval University, examining the teachability of collocations in the context of English for academic purposes. Today, he's going to talk about collocations and fluency in a second language. Welcome, Deo.
Thank you very much, Asnet, for the introduction and for the welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's start with the first question. What are collocations?
Yeah, thank you so much. This is really an interesting question. It has kept researchers very busy for quite some time, and it hasn't been easy to define the concept simply because researchers looked at it from different perspectives. But there is one thing we agree on. This is the definition provided by Firth back in 1959. He suggests that we shall know a word by the company it keeps. This is interesting because you don't know, for him, you don't know a word unless you know the other words with which it's used. For example, if we talk about the word conclusion, we don't put a conclusion, but we draw a conclusion. We don't tell a prayer, but we say a prayer. And we don't do a mistake, but we make a mistake. So these can also be challenging for learners. And that's why there are interesting references like the Oxford Collocations Dictionary, which is an interesting one for me. It was designed as a learning tool, and actually my favorite definition comes from there. They define, the dictionary compilers have defined collocation as the way words pattern together and they sound to produce natural sounding speech and writing. And this is really key because this speaks to the speaking and the writing, and this is for productive use. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That leads to our second question.
Well, thank you. The second question is, why are collocations important in second language learning?
Very, very good question. Thank you very much. Yes, collocations, since they are challenging, in second language, learners will struggle how to put them together. They are likely to go wrong, so it's really important that they pay attention to those. And the research evidence indicates that learners who use collocations are more proficient than others. To collocations speak to native-like fluency. Those who use collocations will be more fluent and they come across as proficient speakers and they achieve communication successfully. And number three, collocations predict academic literacy, and academic literacy here refers to reading, writing, and critical thinking. And the first two, reading and writing, are really important because when we read, we predict. And when we know collocations, it's much easier. And when we write, when we combine these words that are expected, we come across as excellent writers. And here, I would like to share two quotations with you just to stress the importance of collocations. I will read them out for you. The first one comes from Gledil, a German scholar, back in 2000. He suggested that collocations are a key part of the writing process, and it is impossible for a writer to be fluent without a thorough knowledge of phraseology. Phraseology is another technical term used to refer to collocations of the particular field he or she is writing in. So it's not just at the linguistic level, it's part of the process. Another one that seems to support this comes from Paco, who says that collocations fulfill organizational and the rhetorical functions prominent in academic writing. So we know which phrases we expect when we introduce a topic, when we hypothesize, when we talk about results, and when we conclude. So these two definitions really stress the importance of collocations because collocations will help learners to be fluent speakers and also fluent writers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deo. And our third question is how to teach collocations?
Great question. Thank you so much. Yes, everybody now, not everybody, but those interested in this aspect as applied linguists, they are asking this question. And we don't have a definite answer yet, but there are tendencies. And we've got four main approaches today. The first one, follows explicit implicit axes. So are we teaching collocations explicitly or are we teaching them implicitly? So what we do, we present text and we highlight collocations there and we tell the learners to pay attention to those collocations. And if we do, there is evidence that they do better on collocations as opposed to when we just present the text that's implicit. The second axis is psycholinguistic in nature. Psycholinguistic would mean that we present collocations as a whole, not put apart. The third axis is, yes, of course, process-oriented. And process-oriented with the let's see what happens when the learners are learning collocations. What happens? Let's raise awareness. And this is a very good example. Thanks, Azanet, for sharing this, that we use to raise awareness. And I use this model that you can see here. I asked my students to choose the words, to place them at the center, like issue, and draw connections between adjectives that collocate with it and verbs that collocate with it. And of course, meaning is important here. And I designed this study in a pre-post experimental design. What is interesting is that students had a score of 43% for the pre, but for the post, that was up to 61%. It's not a lot, but it's a very good indication that if we raise awareness, if we help the learners, they do well. And also, it's also interesting because I also asked the learners to write an essay before my intervention and write an essay also after. And again, here, there is indication that, yes, the learners did well, used more collocations in the essay, in the post-essay, which is, yes, for me, very, very encouraging. And yes, I feel that there is something to build on, and this is the topic, yes, I feel like we should explore more. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for the explanation. It is indeed very interesting. I don't know if you have any other questions that you would like to ask, Deo.
Yes, I have a question. You are teaching young adults, adolescents, or adults? What is your public?
Yes, very good question. Thank you very much. I was teaching young adults, so third-year students, and the target words came from what is known in the literature as the academic word list. So this was a writing course. And the observations are that learners don't use those words, and they are expected to use them. So my idea was, okay, let's see how much they can use. Let's see how much they can use after my pedagogical treatment. So it was in a writing course and it lasted for a couple of weeks. It was a little bit intense and I was positively surprised to see how they were able to have those collocations updated. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Thank you.
And have you ever wondered which technologies for information could be useful to teach collocations?
Yeah, great. Thank you. This is a great question. Maybe I didn't have enough time to go into great details and share what people are doing when it comes to the fourth approach. The fourth approach is corpus-oriented. So corpus-oriented people are helping learners to know which software packages associated with Corpus being text being stored in a computer, and they can use the software packages to look up the target word they are interested in, that they can highlight the keywords and the collocations that surround that. So I used that COCA, Corpus of Contemporary American English, which is really, really a great tool because it has really many options and the learners can see the word in the real context. So they ask the system to give them the collocations and they can go to the real examples. So yes, this is the way to go because our learners are online and we're lucky to have online tools. So we have, it's a great idea to use them. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Well, I don't know if there are any more questions. If no, we can, we only have to say thank you. Thank you for sharing your, the results of your work, your findings, and your research. And well, that's it. Thank you very much.
No, I have to thank you. The privilege was mine to have an opportunity, yes, to share my work and also meet you. So thank you very much.